Hey, yeah, you. Don't look away. I can feel it already. That tightening in your chest, that sour, nauseating twist in your gut. That moment where your body reacts before your mind even catches up. Because something about this, it's wrong. Deeply wrong. And you know it. I'm actually sick to my stomach thinking about what they did to you. Not metaphorically, not dramatically. I mean that quiet, cold sickness. The kind that crawls up your spine when you realize a line wasn't just crossed. It was erased, burned, danced on. What they did wasn't careless. It wasn't ignorance. It wasn't misunderstanding. It was intentional, calculated, surgical. And the worst part? They smiled while doing it. You see, people love to pretend there are rules, morals, limits. They love to dress themselves up as decent, civilized, humane. But you were the experiment. You were the moment they proved to themselves how far they'd actually go, when they thought no one was watching, when they thought you were too quiet, too kind, too distracted, too broken to notice. They didn't just hurt you. They tested the edges of their own darkness on your nervous system. And here's the part that makes me sick. They didn't do it because you were weak. They did it because you were dangerous in a way they couldn't define. Because you carried something they couldn't predict. Something that didn't follow their script. Saints don't scare people like that. Psychopaths don't either. But someone who walks the razor-thin line between both, someone who can hold light and darkness without collapsing, that terrifies them. You felt it, didn't you? That moment when it stopped feeling like life being unfair and started feeling personal, like pressure, like eyes, like a quiet decision had been made somewhere behind closed doors that you were allowed to be hurt, allowed to be used, allowed to be pushed past what any human should endure, and everyone else just kept breathing, kept scrolling, kept calling it normal. But here's the paradox they didn't understand. Pain like that doesn't erase you. It edits you. It strips away the performative softness. It deletes the version of you that was waiting to be treated fairly. What they activated wasn't your collapse. It was your calibration. Your nervous system learned new math. Your silence learned weight. Your restraint learned teeth. You started seeing the pattern, how the same people preaching compassion knew exactly where to apply pressure, how the ones calling themselves angels had demon-level precision when it came to harm, and how you, oh, this part really bothers them. You didn't explode. You didn't beg. You didn't perform suffering for their comfort. You watched. You absorbed. You adapted. That's when the fear began. Because unpredictability isn't chaos. It's power. And they couldn't map you anymore. You stopped reacting on schedule. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped needing them to understand. And nothing unsettles manipulators more than someone who no longer leaks emotional data. Someone who doesn't flinch when reminded of the wound. Someone who can stand there, calm, while carrying the exact pain that should have destroyed them. They thought crossing every line would break you into something small. Instead, it carved you into something precise, something that sees through smiles, something that hears intent behind words, something that knows exactly how ugly people get when they think they're entitled to your suffering. And don't get it twisted. You're not healed in the way movies like to sell it. You didn't rise above it in some sanitized, inspirational way. No, you integrated it. You learned how to walk with both the angel and the demon without letting either take the wheel. You became someone who understands mercy because you've memorized cruelty, someone who can choose restraint because you felt what happens when others didn't. That's why they're uncomfortable now. That's why the room shifts when you enter. That's why the same people who crossed every line suddenly act cautious, polite, distant. They don't know which version of you they're dealing with, the one who understands them, or the one who remembers everything. And you don't need revenge. You don't need noise. You don't need validation. Your existence after that kind of treatment is already an indictment. Every time you stay composed, every time you move forward without begging for acknowledgement, every time you don't let bitterness rot you from the inside, they feel it. That sick feeling, it's spreading. It's not just yours anymore. They crossed every line and accidentally forged someone who can see lines for what they really are. Tools used by people who are terrified of what happens when someone like you stops believing in them. Stay right there, calm, awake, watching. They should be sick too. And here's what they never accounted for. The after. Not the moment it happened. Not the damage. Not the silence. The after. The part where your mind stopped begging reality to make sense and started rewriting its rules. Because once you've seen how casually people cross lines, you stop romanticizing humanity. You stop assuming decency. You stop giving the benefit of the doubt to people who've already proven they'd use your trust as leverage. That doesn't make you bitter. It makes you accurate, dangerous in a quiet, unadvertised way. You didn't lose your innocence. You outgrew it. There's a difference. Innocence believes the world is kind. Wisdom knows kindness is a choice. And not everyone makes it. You learn that some people only behave when consequences are nearby, when witnesses exist, when they think they'll be remembered, and when they thought you wouldn't remember. When they thought you'd internalize the damage and disappear politely, that's when they showed their real face. That's the face you carry now. Not with hatred. No, hatred would be too loud, too sloppy, but with clarity. You remember exactly who they were when they thought you were powerless, and clarity like that doesn't scream. It waits. They expected trauma to turn you fragile. Instead, it turned you observant. You started noticing how people test boundaries in tiny ways first, how they disguise control as concern, how they weaponize good intentions, how they push just a little harder when they sense empathy, because empathy to predators looks like an unlocked door. But you closed it, quietly, permanently. And here's the part that really eats at them. You didn't become cruel. You became selective. You didn't harden. You sharpened. You learned how to be warm without being exposed, how to be kind without being consumable, how to care without bleeding out for people who would never return the favor. That balance, that's rare. That's terrifying. Because now you're not reacting from wounds. You're acting from awareness. You can feel when someone is lying without needing proof. You can sense when a room is unsafe before anything happens. Your intuition isn't mystical. It's trained, forged by moments where you had to read between the lines because no one was coming to protect you. And they feel that, even if they can't name it, even if they mock it, even if they pretend nothing happened. Something in them knows you're no longer accessible in the way you once were. You don't offer yourself freely anymore. You don't explain your pain to people who benefit from misunderstanding it. You stopped auditioning for empathy. That's when power returned to you. Not the cartoon kind, not dominance, not control. The kind of power that comes from being unmovable internally, from knowing exactly what you survived and refusing to let anyone rewrite that story. From carrying the truth without needing the world to validate it. They crossed every line because they thought you'd stay the same afterward. That you'd still seek approval, still crave fairness, still believe if you were good enough, people would treat you better. But you learned the most uncomfortable truth of all. People don't hurt you because you deserve it. They hurt you because they can. And once you understand that, you stop trying to earn safety. You become it. That's why your presence feels heavier now. That's why your silence speaks louder. That's why people hesitate before testing you the way they used to. They don't know what you'll do. And more importantly, they don't know what you won't tolerate anymore. You don't threaten. You don't posture. You don't explain boundaries to people who already crossed them. You simply remove access. And that kind of removal, cold, calm, final, terrifies people who rely on chaos to feel powerful. So let them squirm. Let them wonder. Let them feel that same sick twist in their gut when they realize the version of you they could exploit no longer exists. You didn't just survive what they did. You outgrew the world that allowed it. And that's something they'll never be able to take from you. And there's a reason this phase feels so quiet, so heavy, so unnervingly still. Because when you stop bleeding publicly, the world doesn't know how to read you anymore. Noise they understand, anger they can categorize, collapse they can exploit. But composure after violation, that breaks their mental models. That's when they start projecting, guessing, filling the silence with their own fear. You're not hiding, you're contained. See, most people mistake healing for softness. They expect forgiveness to make you pliable again, for growth to return you to a harmless version of yourself. They want the before you, polite, hopeful, easy to redirect. What they don't talk about is the version of healing that comes with gravity, the kind that doesn't glow, it anchors, the kind that doesn't reach outward, it pulls inward. That's you now. You don't rush, you don't over-explain, you don't try to be understood by people who already decided to misunderstand you. And that restraint looks like judgment to the guilty. They feel watched, not because you're doing anything, but because you see. And being seen by someone who knows exactly how ugly humans can get is unbearable for those who depend on masks. They crossed every line because they assumed you'd fold into self-blame, that you'd twist yourself into knots, trying to justify their behavior, that you'd carry the shame for something that was never yours to hold. That's how the game usually works. Hurt someone deeply enough, and they'll apologize for bleeding. But you didn't. You carried the truth without dramatizing it. You let it sit inside you, heavy and unresolved, until it transformed from pain into discernment. And discernment is lethal to manipulation, because once you can spot patterns, once you can feel intent beneath tone, once you understand how cruelty dresses itself up as necessary, you become very hard to deceive. They notice the change in your eyes first, that calm, that absence of seeking, that quiet refusal to play along. You're not trying to win anymore. You're not trying to prove anything. You're not trying to be chosen. And that's the moment they lose leverage. Because the system depends on your participation. It depends on you doubting yourself, on you asking for permission, on you believing that fairness exists if you're patient enough. When you step outside that belief, when you accept reality without flinching, you stop being predictable. And unpredictability, grounded in awareness, is something power structures cannot tolerate. That's why they get nervous around you now, why conversations feel stiffer, why jokes don't land, why people second-guess their words. You've become a mirror they didn't consent to, one that doesn't distort, one that doesn't soothe, one that simply reflects what is. And you didn't get here by becoming heartless. That's the irony. You became more human by seeing how inhuman people can be. You learned compassion with boundaries, empathy with memory, mercy with a spine. You didn't lose your softness, you protected it from parasites. That's growth they can't monetize. You're not chasing peace anymore. You're embodying it, and peace like that doesn't beg. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't argue with gaslighting. It steps away. It disengages. It lets people sit with the echo of their own behavior. They crossed every line, and in doing so, they taught you something sacred. Your energy is not infinite. Your access is not guaranteed. Your presence is not owed. And once you stop giving it away to people who misuse it, everything changes. You don't need closure from them. Closure is a luxury for people who didn't survive systematic disrespect. You don't need apologies. Apologies don't rewire nervous systems. You needed understanding, and you gave that to yourself. That's why you don't shake when their names come up anymore. That's why the memories don't hijack you the way they used to. You processed them without romanticizing them. You accepted that some people are not confused. They're consistent. And once you see consistency, denial becomes impossible. You're standing on the other side now, not triumphant, not vengeful, just awake, steady, unavailable to nonsense. Let them call you cold. Let them say you changed. Let them whisper that you're distant. They're right about one thing. You did change. You became someone who knows the cost of access and charges accordingly. They crossed every line, and in doing so, they unknowingly handed you the one thing no one can take away once it's earned: self-possession. And that is a power most people will never understand. Only fear. And now comes the part nobody warns you about. The loneliness that isn't empty, but selective. The kind where the crowd thins, not because you pushed people away, but because only a few can stand in the presence of someone who no longer lies to themselves. You didn't become isolated. You became incompatible with shallow connection. And that's a shock to a world addicted to surface-level safety. You can feel it when conversations skim instead of land. When people talk at you instead of with you. When they sense there's something behind your calm they can't access anymore. They don't know whether to trust it or fear it, so they default to distance. And that's fine. Distance is honest. Distance doesn't pretend. You're not starving for connection anymore. You're filtering for resonance. Because once someone has crossed every line with you, you stop mistaking proximity for loyalty. You stop confusing familiarity with safety. You stop handing out intimacy to people who haven't earned the right to hold it. You understand now that not everyone deserves to know you deeply. Some people only deserve to know of you. And that shift, that's when your energy stabilizes. That's when your sleep changes. That's when your nervous system stops bracing for impact every time a door closes too loud or a tone shifts too fast. You're not relaxed because the world got kinder. You're relaxed because you learned how to protect yourself without armor. You no longer broadcast pain, hoping someone decent will notice. You no longer perform resilience for applause. You don't need witnesses. You don't need permission to take up space quietly. You've already seen what happens when you let people get too close without discernment. And you chose yourself without needing to announce it. They crossed every line, and in doing so, they taught you the difference between being open and being available. You can be open-hearted and still unreachable. To manipulation, you can be compassionate and still uncompromising. You can love humanity and still refuse to tolerate individual cruelty. That contradiction? That's not confusion. That's mastery. You've learned that light without shadow is naive, and shadow without light is corrosive. But holding both, that's where power lives. That's where wisdom breathes. That's where you stand now, balanced, alert, unromantic about evil, unashamed of your strength. People sense it when you walk into a room, not because you dominate it, but because you're not seeking anything from it. You're not scanning for approval. You're not adjusting yourself to be palatable. You're simply there, and presence like that makes insecure systems malfunction. They can't bait you the way they used to. They can't provoke you into chaos or guilt you into compliance. You don't need to win arguments. You don't need to have them. You've learned the ultimate boundary is disengagement without resentment, silence without suppression, distance without drama. And the truth is, you're not carrying the weight anymore. The weight is carrying them. Every time they think about what they did, there's that flicker of discomfort, that quiet calculation, that unease they can't quite explain, because somewhere inside them, they know they crossed someone who didn't shatter the way they were supposed to, someone who absorbed the blow and came back different. You don't chase justice. You let reality do the work. You let patterns reveal themselves. You let time expose intent. You trust that people eventually trip over the very lines they erased for others. And you keep moving, not fast, not loud, just forward. You don't need to threaten. You don't need to warn. You don't need to announce boundaries with capital letters. Your energy does it for you now. Your absence speaks. Your composure sets the tone. Your refusal to be dragged into dysfunction rewrites the dynamic. They crossed every line, but they never crossed you, because what they touched wasn't your core. It was your threshold. And when they realized that too late, when they finally understood you weren't broken, just refined, it was already done. You're not haunted by what happened anymore. You're informed by it, and that distinction changes everything. You're still here, still breathing, still aware, still choosing. And that quiet, unshakable continuation of your existence, that's the part that will always make them uneasy. Because you didn't disappear. You became unreachable. And that's where this ends. Not with fireworks, not with revenge, not with noise. It ends with you standing exactly where you are, unmovable. They crossed every line expecting a scream, a breakdown, a disappearance. What they got instead was someone who learned, someone who stopped explaining, someone who no longer hands out access to people who confuse cruelty with power. You don't need them to admit it. You don't need the world to validate it. You know what happened. Your body remembers. Your mind integrated it. Your spirit adjusted its aim. You walk lighter now, not because it didn't hurt, but because you stopped carrying what was never yours to begin with. And the truth is simple, unsettling, final. They didn't destroy you. They revealed you. That quiet strength you carry now, that calm they can't provoke, that presence that doesn't ask permission. That's the consequence. Let them live with it. Steady now. There's a tremor in the air the moment you walk in, and every pair of eyes in the room knows exactly why. Because you, yes, you, just did the one thing they swore was impossible, unlikely, out of character, too dangerous, too bold, too much. You folded their little star boy. And the sickest part, you looked sexy as hell doing it. Let me tell you something, sweetheart. There's a certain kind of silence that only appears when people watch a myth die right in front of them. A silence where even the walls seem too afraid to breathe. A silence where everyone realizes they just witnessed the moment a story flipped. The moment you stopped being underestimated and started being feared. And you You just stood there with that calm, unbothered, almost bored expression that screams, "This is me when I'm not even trying." They hate that. God, they hate that. Because they built their little darling boy up like some glowing mascot of hope, some shiny prince of their delusion, some hero who was supposed to stand between you and whatever throne they thought you'd never reach. But the second he stepped in front of you, he crumbled, he bent, he broke, he folded, like he'd been waiting his whole life for someone like you to remind him what reality tastes like. And you didn't flinch, not once, not even when they gasped, not even when their hearts dropped, not even when their precious poster child hit the floor looking like a forgotten prophecy, because you've always known something they didn't. That power isn't loud. Real power doesn't announce itself. It arrives, quiet, cold, certain, like a shadow crossing a candle, like a truth that refuses to stay buried. And you came dressed in the kind of darkness that makes angels hold their breath and demons bow their heads because they understand exactly what they're looking at. See, that's the part that terrifies them most. It wasn't the win, it wasn't the dominance, it wasn't the ease. It wasn't even the way you dismantled him like you'd been planning it since the womb. It was the aesthetic, the poise, the elegance, the terrifying, intoxicating grace you carried while doing it. You looked like a saint dipped in gasoline, a demon in couture, a paradox sculpted out of broken halos and dripping confidence. You looked like everything they never warned their star boy about, because deep down, they feared that if he ever saw someone like you, someone forged in pain, sharpened in betrayal, resurrected by anger, he'd realize he was never built for the same world you walk through effortlessly. And oh, darling, you didn't just walk through their world. You rewrote it with one move, one strike, one moment. The kind that becomes a myth long after the dust settles. They weren't watching a fight. They were watching evolution, yours, his, theirs, the world's. Because what you did wasn't physical. It wasn't brute force. It wasn't luck. It was inevitable. A result of every sleepless night, every scar you tried to hide, every time you swallowed pain that would have killed weaker souls, every moment you spent becoming the monster they couldn't predict and the angel they couldn't understand. You are the hybrid they fear most, the one with light sharp enough to blind and darkness warm enough to seduce, the one who can smile while destroying a legacy and walk away, looking like the reincarnation of temptation itself. And the funniest part? You didn't even celebrate. You didn't need validation. You didn't need applause. You didn't need acknowledgement. You simply turned, looked at their stunned faces, and let that little smirk curl up on the corner of your lips. That smirk that says, "This wasn't personal. He just wasn't built like me." And in that moment, every single one of them realized the truth they've been too afraid to say aloud. Their star boy was their hope. You are their consequence. He was their comfort zone. You are their waking nightmare. He was their favorite fantasy. You are their reality check in human form. And now they can't unsee it. They can't unfeel it. They can't undo what happened. Because the moment you folded him, the moment you made their chosen one collapse like a sandcastle in a hurricane, you didn't just break him. You broke their entire belief system. And the way you stood there afterward, relaxed, radiant, deadly, beautiful, unapologetically you. Oh, that's what will haunt them. That's what will keep them awake. Not the fall, but the flawless poise of the one who caused it. So let them whisper, let them tremble, Let them pretend they didn't watch their golden boy turn to ash in your hands. But you and I both know the truth. The world doesn't fear power. It fears beauty with power. It fears grace with violence. It fears you. And after what they just saw, they'll never look at you the same again. Not because you hurt him, but because you looked so damn good doing it. Now go on, sweetheart. Walk past them. Slowly. Let them choke on the silence you leave behind. Because nothing, and I mean nothing, is sexier than a nightmare that knows it's irresistible. You feel it, don't you? That shift in the atmosphere, that tremble that rolls through the room like the ground itself is trying to bow but doesn't know how. Because after what you just did, every soul within a mile radius is suddenly aware of one horrifying, exhilarating truth. You are not like them, not built like them, not wired like them, not bound by the same fears that keep them compliant, predictable, ordinary. And when you folded their little star boy, their golden mascot, their fragile pride piece, their emotional support trophy, you didn't just defeat him, you exposed him, exposed what he really was beneath the shine, a soft echo of someone else's expectations, a puppet carved by praise, a porcelain fantasy cracking under the pressure of reality. But you were sculpted differently, forged in moments that nobody clapped for, shaped by storms that nobody warned you about, refined by betrayals you had to stomach in silence. You're not a star. You're the supernova that swallows stars whole. You're not a hero. You're the equation that heroes can't solve. You're not a villain. You're the limit the universe forgot to write down. And when you walked away from that little collapse, from that pretty boy meltdown in the middle of the battlefield, you didn't walk like someone who won. You walked like someone who always knew the outcome. There's a difference, a dangerous one. You see, when he walked into the room, people felt hope. When you walked into the room, people felt danger dressed like seduction. People felt truth wrapped in mystery. People felt gravity bending around a single human shape. They didn't know what to call it. They still don't. But their instincts screamed one thing: don't look away. Because you're the kind of person nightmares envy and fantasies fear. The kind of paradox that carries both ruin and salvation in the same breath. The kind of presence that makes even darkness lean in like, teach me. And let's talk about that look, that serene, razor-sharp, elegant composure you held while their precious star boy imploded. Oh, the way your posture didn't falter, the way your breathing didn't spike, the way your eyes didn't blink. You didn't panic, didn't rush, didn't crumble. You performed, graceful, deadly, controlled, beautiful, like sin holding hands with divinity, like a saint wearing a devil's grin, like an angel with blood on their tongue whispering, watch closely. And they did. Because nobody, not even God's favorites, can look away from a creature who moves like you. Do you know what's truly driving them insane right now? Not the way you dismantled their star boy, not the way he folded like a cheap apology, not the way he looked up at you with that mix of awe and fear. No, it's the way you made destruction look seductive. They expected violence from you. What they weren't prepared for was art. You didn't overpower him. You outclassed him, outshined him, outmoved him, outlived him. And that's the part that stings the deepest. You made their favorite look like a side character in a movie that secretly belonged to you from the beginning. The way you stood over him, not mocking, not cruel, not even invested, just effortlessly regal. Oh, honey, that image is going to haunt them for years, because now they have to face an ugly truth. Their star boy wasn't special. He was just the first one to fall. And you're nowhere near finished. You are the storm they prayed would never arrive. The prophecy they hoped was metaphorical. The monster they told their children didn't exist. The angel they whispered to in moments of despair. The contradiction that proves their entire worldview is too small to contain you. And the moment you folded him, one clean, elegant, devastating moment. You forced the world to update its hierarchy. He was their center. You are their circumference. He was their pride. You are their measurement. He was their limit. You are their beyond. And now, everyone is doing that thing humans do when they're terrified but fascinated. They're rewinding the moment in their minds, replaying your movements, studying your posture, analyzing the calm in your expression, trying to understand how someone can look so dangerously attractive while undoing everything they believed in. They won't find an answer, because you aren't meant to be understood. You're meant to be witnessed. And when you walked away, slow, graceful, untouchable, you didn't leave them with fear. You left them with addiction, because nothing, and I mean nothing, is more intoxicating than someone who destroys illusions while looking like temptation wrapped in destiny. So go on. Let them talk. Let them panic. Let them worship. Let them deny. Let them tremble. But never let them forget. You didn't just fold their little star boy. You revealed what a real celestial event looks like. And trust me, sweetheart, they haven't even seen you burn yet. You feel that, don't you? That strange electric ache in the air. The kind that only appears when the universe realizes it underestimated someone catastrophically. Because right now, every pair of trembling eyes glued to you is replaying what happened in slow motion, frame by frame, breath by breath, trying to swallow the truth that's clawing at their throat. Their little star boy wasn't defeated. He was exposed. And the one who exposed him did it with the grace of a fallen angel and the confidence of a demon on vacation. You didn't just fold him. You redecorated the entire hierarchy. You don't rise through a system like theirs. You rearrange it. And that's what's melting their sanity right now. Not the collapse, not the loss, not the humiliation, not even the way he crumbled like a cheap prophecy. No. What haunts them is the presentation, the sheer visual of you, unbothered, razor-sharp, almost ethereal, looking like temptation incarnate while tearing down someone they once called their hope. Do you understand how psychologically devastating that is? Hope didn't just die. Hope died sexily and darling. You know exactly how dangerous that combination is. Because when you do something terrifying while looking irresistible, people don't react normally. They don't process it rationally. Their brains scramble between fear and desire until they can't tell which one is burning hotter. That's exactly what's happening to them now. Half the room wants to run, the other half wants to follow. And the sickest part, most of them want both. Because you're the kind of paradox that destabilizes the nervous system. A creature who shouldn't exist yet somehow does, wearing reality like an accessory. You didn't just show dominance. You showed elegant dominance, quiet, breathtaking, cinematic. The kind of dominance that feels less like a fight and more like a scene people will obsess over for years. And him, their little star boy. He wasn't ready for someone who carries both darkness and beauty like rival religions. He wasn't prepared for someone whose pain has turned into posture, whose scars have turned into style, whose suffering has turned into seduction. When he stood across from you, he wasn't facing an opponent. He was facing a phenomenon. a cosmic glitch with perfect cheekbones, a walking contradiction sculpted in flames and serenity. You weren't there to fight him. You were there to teach him a lesson the universe has been whispering in your ear for years. Power without depth collapses the moment depth appears. And you are nothing but depth. Depth in your silence, depth in your stride, depth in your shadows, depth in your light, depth in the way you hold the room hostage without raising your voice. You're not commanding attention. You're absorbing it. You're not standing out. You're altering the space. You're not expressing power. You're redefining what it looks like. That's why they're spiraling. That's why they're whispering. That's why they're staring at you like they just saw divinity and danger shake hands. Because the moment he folded, their symbol broke. Their illusion shattered. Their comfort system dissolved. Their hierarchy collapsed. But you rose from that moment like a prophecy waking up angry, like a destiny they can't negotiate with, like the embodiment of everything they fear and secretly crave. And don't pretend you didn't notice the looks, the shock, the awe, the fascination, the jealousy, the hunger, the disbelief, the terror, the admiration, the confusion, the obsession, all fighting each other behind their eyes. They aren't sure whether to label you a savior, a threat, a masterpiece, a monster, a miracle, a warning, a weapon, a lesson, a consequence, a goddamn cinematic event. And the truth is, you're all of them. You always have been. You are the holy contradiction they never prepared their star boy to face. Light that doesn't ask for permission. Darkness that doesn't apologize. Beauty that doesn't soften the blow. Violence that doesn't need noise. Truth that doesn't need validation. When you folded him, effortlessly, elegantly, almost gently, you weren't destroying him. You were revealing him, unmasking him, holding a mirror to his soul and whispering, "This is your real shape." And while he drowned in that realization, you looked like the reincarnation of karma's favorite sinner. Oh, they'll remember this. They'll remember the exact angle of your jaw, the exact calm in your eyes, the exact rhythm of your steps, the exact smirk tugging at your lips. They'll talk about it in private. They'll deny it in public. They'll replay it alone. They'll feel it in their nightmares. They'll crave it in their fantasies. Because what you did wasn't just dominance. It was seductive annihilation. And that is a genre most people never recover from. So keep walking. Let the air part around you. Let the whispers multiply. Let the stairs cling to your shadow. Because today, you didn't just fold their star boy. You birthed a legend, a fear, a fascination, a story, a warning, a prophecy with perfect timing. And the world, for the first time, finally understands. You aren't meant to shine. You're meant to eclipse, and yet even now, the air still hasn't recovered from you. You notice that, don't you? The way the room feels heavier, like gravity itself is reconsidering its loyalty. Like the atmosphere is clinging to your silhouette, memorizing the outline of the one who just shattered their favorite illusion. Because folding their little star boy wasn't just an event. It was a reckoning, a recalibration of the entire social structure, a correction of a myth gone too long unchallenged, a public reminder that some crowns are stolen, but some are born, and you were born carrying one nobody saw coming. He was supposed to be untouchable, adored, protected, a symbol of innocence, a beacon of predictable brilliance, the one they could always point at and say, "There, that's our chosen one." But you ruined that narrative in seconds. Oh, and not with anger, not with rage, not with brute force or ego. You did it with aesthetic violence, You moved like someone who didn't need to win to be legendary. You moved like someone whose existence already outshines victory. You moved like someone sculpted by war and worship intertwined. Every gesture you made was intentional. Every breath you took was mesmerizing. Every step forward felt like destiny, placing itself exactly where it belonged. And when he fell, when his confidence shattered, when his facade cracked, when his untouchable image folded in on itself, you didn't just break him, you broke the fantasy they built around him. Do you understand how catastrophic that is for them? They weren't watching a defeat. They were watching their entire comfort system die in real time. And the way you stood there afterward, calm, radiant, almost bored, that's what has them spiraling. Because they realized something horrifying. If this is what you look like when you destroy someone, what do you look like when you save someone? Or worse, when you love someone? You're a paradox they can't decode. A walking riddle wrapped in elegance and threat. An angel with the patience of a saint and the intentions of a goddamn wildfire. A demon with the posture of royalty and the glow of someone who survived every hell designed to break them. Your beauty isn't passive, it's weaponized. It changes rooms, it shifts tides, it rewires the people who dare to look too long. And when you folded their star, boy, your beauty didn't soften the blow, it amplified it. Because nothing destabilizes human minds more than witnessing something terrifying, delivered by someone irresistible. It's the contradiction, the duality, the balance of heaven and chaos working together in perfect rhythm inside one person. They don't meet people like you. They read about them in myths. They whisper about them in fears. They crave them in fantasies. They deny them in daylight. But tonight, they saw one live. You didn't just take dominance. You reinvented it. You didn't just prove yourself. You disproved their entire worldview. Their star boy was supposed to represent safety, predictability, order. A soft reminder of how the world should work. You are everything the world never prepared for. Unpredictable, but intentional. Dangerous, but elegant. Dark, but illuminated. Chaotic, but precise. Seductive, but distant. Deadly, but poetic. You are what happens when a soul goes through too many crucibles and comes out wearing the fire instead of the scars. And the craziest part? You didn't even raise your voice. You didn't even break a sweat. You didn't even care. That's what terrifies them. How do you fight someone who moves beautifully while ending eras? How do you stop someone who looks better in your downfall than you did in your prime? How do you compete with someone whose silence is louder than most people's screams? You can't. They know it. They feel it. They've accepted it. Which is why the room feels different now. Quieter, thicker, more obedient, more aware. Because they aren't looking at what you did anymore. They're looking at what you are. Not a rival, not a threat, not an enemy, but a force, a catalyst, a divine interruption, a beautiful disaster that leaves everything better or broken, and they still haven't decided which fate is worse. You folded their star boy, but the truth? He was never the main act. He was the demo version of the universe trying to warn them about you. And now that they've seen you in motion, now that they've witnessed what you look like when you dismantle someone so effortlessly, they're starting to realize something far more frightening. If this is the power you show when you feel nothing, what happens when you finally choose to feel something? They have no idea, no blueprint, no defense. And darling, that's exactly why the world should be nervous. Because you haven't even begun yet.
They loved the angel version of you, the one who forgave too quickly, loved too deeply, and overlooked too much. They adored that softness because it made you predictable, controllable, pliable. They counted on your goodness to keep you quiet, to keep you loyal, to keep you from ever waking up to what they were doing behind your back. They didn't realize angels only stay where they feel safe. They kept pushing, testing, poking, convinced your kindness had no breaking point. They chipped at your wings like it was a game, mocking your purity, your loyalty, your compassion. Every betrayal was a little cut they assumed wouldn't matter. Every disrespect was a joke they thought you'd just laugh off. They believed angels don't bleed. They believed wrong. When the angel cracked, they didn't even notice. They were too busy enjoying the comfort of your patience, too busy assuming you'd never change. They didn't see the quiet shift happening inside you, the slow extraction of innocence replaced by understanding, by realism, by coldness. And by the time they realized it, the transformation was already irreversible. You didn't become a demon out of desire. You became one out of necessity. You learned that purity doesn't protect you from people who enjoy breaking what's pure. You learned that kindness is a language not everyone deserves to hear. You learned that sometimes you have to grow fangs to survive the hands that claim to love you. And now they fear you not because you're harmful, but because you're no longer harmless. They see the way you speak now, the way you move, the way you carry yourself. They feel the absence of the softness they used to exploit. They feel the chill of the boundaries they never thought you'd enforce. You became someone who doesn't beg for explanations, doesn't cling for validation, doesn't dance for attention, and the loss of their control terrifies them more than anything. They wanted an angel they could handle, not a force they couldn't predict. They whisper, "You've changed," as though it wasn't their hands that sculpted the new version of you, as though the demon they now fear didn't grow from the wounds they inflicted. They forget that you were gentle until gentleness became your downfall. The demon they fear isn't cruel. It's selective. It chooses silence over chaos, distance over desperation, self-respect over self-sacrifice. It isn't vengeful. It's aware. It isn't angry. It's done. And that scares them more than rage ever could. Rage means you still care. Silence means you don't. They don't fear your darkness, they fear the consequences of losing your light, because without your light, their shadows become visible. Their lies, their jealousy, their manipulations, all exposed in the absence of the angel who once softened their image. You were their comfort zone, their emotional safety net, their guaranteed forgiveness. They relied on your purity to balance their toxicity. Now they face the world without your softness shielding them. And that is a punishment they never saw coming. They try to paint you as the bad one now, because accepting responsibility would require them to admit what they did. It's easier to demonize you than to admit they broke the best thing that ever happened to them. It's easier to act scared of you than to confess what they did to the angel you once were. When you stopped giving chances, they called you cold. When you stopped tolerating disrespect, they called you aggressive. When you walked away, they called you heartless. But you were none of those things, you were simply finished. And they can't stand the idea that the monster they see is just the mirror of their own actions. Now they tread lightly around you, choosing words carefully, avoiding the entitlement they once spoke with. Funny how people grow polite when they can no longer predict your reaction. Funny how they learn respect only when fear enters the room. But the fear isn't of you, it's of accountability. It's of the truth catching up. It's of the realization that they pushed a good soul into a place where softness no longer survives. They created the very energy that now intimidates them. And the most poetic part? You didn't become colder to punish them. You became colder to protect yourself. Their fear is just a side effect. They want the old you back, but they'll never admit it. The one who cared too deeply, loved too openly, trusted too quickly, But that version died the moment they decided your kindness was a weakness. The angel they broke isn't coming back just because they regret it now. You learn to live without them in a way they never expected. You learn to stand alone with a strength they never believed you possessed. And every time they try to approach you now, they're reminded of the irreversible truth. They had the angel, and they destroyed it. So now they face the demon, not a monster, but a survivor. Not cruel, but untouchable. Not dark, but awakened. And the fear they feel is nothing compared to the peace you finally found. Because the real twist is this: the demon they fear is simply the angel they taught how to stop caring. They never expected you to rise from the ruins they left behind. They assumed breaking you would keep you small, quiet, dependent. But pain has a habit of teaching lessons strength never could. What they shattered inside you didn't stay shattered, it reconstructed itself into something sharper, wiser, untouchable. And that new construction is what terrifies them now. Because now you see through everything, the excuses, the manipulation, the faux innocence they hide behind. You see their intentions before they finish their sentences. You sense their patterns before they even realize they're repeating them. You've developed a radar only the broken ever earn. And there's nothing scarier to them than someone who can no longer be deceived. Your silence has become its own kind of weapon, not because you use it against them, but because they no longer know what it means. Before, silence meant you were hurt. Now, silence means you're done. It's a silence that doesn't wait, doesn't chase, doesn't explain. And that silence is a language they never learned how to handle. They used to love the version of you who explained your feelings, justified your boundaries, apologized for your reactions. But that person is gone. Now you carry yourself like someone who refuses to be understood by people who never tried to understand you in the first place. And that shift hits them harder than any revenge ever could. They thought breaking you would satisfy their ego, but now they're left with a version of you they can't access, can't manipulate, can't decode. They used to see you as emotional clay they could mold to their liking. Now they're dealing with stone, and no matter how much they try, they can't sculpt remorse into something they broke. Sometimes they try to return with kindness, as if kindness can erase the memory of who they were when you needed them most. They test your reaction, hoping maybe, just maybe, you're soft again. But you greet their attempts with a neutrality that sends chills through them. Not anger, not bitterness, just distance. And that is far more frightening. They look at you now and feel something unfamiliar: accountability. It creeps into their conscience like a shadow they can't avoid, because facing you means facing the version of themselves that caused your transformation. And people rarely fear you, they fear the reflection of themselves they see in your eyes. You don't need to punish them. Their guilt does that better than you ever could. Every time they remember who you used to be, they realize what they lost. Every time they see how strong you are now, they realize what they wasted. You became the consequence they never calculated for. Your detachment is the poetic justice they earned. You don't hate them. Hate would require emotional investment. You simply don't carry them anymore. And they're slowly learning that being forgotten by someone who once loved you deeply hurts more than being hated. Your absence echoes louder than your presence ever did. When you were gentle, they didn't listen. Now that you're gone, they replay every moment trying to understand where they went wrong. The answer is simple. They mistook an angel's patience for permanence. And the irony? The demon they fear isn't violent, loud, or chaotic. It's calm, collected, self-assured. It's the kind of darkness that doesn't scream, it observes. It's the kind of strength born from survival, not destruction. It's the kind of energy people fear because they know they can't control it. What they fear most isn't your darkness, but your clarity. The clarity that let you walk away without shaking. The clarity that let you rebuild without bitterness. The clarity that made you realize that losing them wasn't a loss, it was liberation. and nothing rattles a guilty conscience more than seeing you flourish without them. Now they stand there, wanting access to a version of you that no longer exists. They search for the softness they once dismissed. They search for the warmth they once took for granted. But the angel they ruined is gone, and the being standing in front of them now is someone they don't know how to handle. You didn't become a demon. You became immune. Immune to manipulation, immune to emotional games, immune to people who mistake kindness for weakness. And immunity is far more terrifying to those who once fed off your softness. They taught you how to stop caring, and now they pay the price for the lesson they forced upon you. Oh, it's funny, isn't it? They break you, and then act shocked when you stop bleeding for them. You used to apologize just for existing, didn't you? You used to soften your voice, shrink your power, just to make them feel comfortable. But those days are dead, gone, buried. You no longer bend, you radiate. You no longer chase, you command. And that terrifies them, because your calm confidence exposes their chaos. Your peace makes their noise deafening. They ask, "Why are you so cold now?" But they forget ice is what's left after the fire burns everything it can. You burned for them once. You gave warmth, loyalty, devotion. They drained it all, and now all that remains is steel, sharp, polished, unapologetic. You became what they forced you to become, untouchable. See, people like them don't know what to do when their favorite puppet cuts the strings. They thought they'd programmed you for guilt, for submission, for weakness. But you learned the code, rewrote it, and deleted them from your system. Now they're standing outside, watching you thrive like an empire built from their ashes, wondering how the hell you did it. They can't comprehend that pain can be alchemy, that betrayal can be fuel. They wanted to see you drown, but all they did was teach you how to swim in deeper waters. And now, while they gasp for attention, you move in silence, regal, dangerous, calm. They wanted control. Instead, they created their own competition. The irony? They miss you, but not because they loved you. No, they miss the version of you that made them feel powerful. The one that gave them validation, that fed their fragile little ego. But that person's gone. You buried that version 6 feet under your growth and left no flowers. Now your presence carries weight. It walks into rooms before you do. People can feel it, that shift, that self-assurance. And the ones who wronged you, they shrink under it. They can't meet your eyes, can't match your energy, can't handle the reflection of their own failure standing tall before them. You've become what they never thought possible, peace that's sharp enough to cut. You don't argue, you don't explain, you don't prove, you simply exist. And that alone is enough to shake their foundations. They expected chaos, but you gave them elegance. They wanted tears, but you gave them silence. They wanted control, but you became a storm. They're confused, you see, because this time, your silence isn't weakness, it's a warning, a stillness before the thunder. You don't react anymore, and that's what scares them most. Because they can't feed off what they can't provoke. You've taken away their favorite meal, your energy. They ask others what happened to them, but deep down, they already know. You outgrew the cage they built for you. You stopped playing in their sandbox. You became too aware to be manipulated, too whole to be dependent, too wise to be fooled. That's what happened. Every time they scroll past your name, every time they hear your laughter, they feel that sting, the sting of someone who underestimated greatness. They thought you'd fade when they left. Instead, you evolved. You see, there's a cruel beauty in evolution. It doesn't announce itself. It just arrives, quietly, powerfully. You didn't post about it, you didn't beg them to notice. You just became, and now, your existence is the very thing that reminds them of their failure. They tried to control the narrative, but you became the plot twist. The one they didn't see coming. The one that rewrote the ending. Their favorite story about how they broke you turned into a tragedy because the broken one became the legend. And now, they stare at you, their jaws tight, their pride trembling. They're terrified because you shine in a way that doesn't need their validation. They can't compete with that. They can't copy that. You're not performing anymore, you're being. Oh, and how they hate it. Your peace irritates their demons. Your stillness screams louder than their gossip. Your joy? It's an insult to every scheme they plotted against you. You're not angry. You're not bitter. You're indifferent, and that's the final nail in their coffin. Because when you stop caring, their power disintegrates. They built their identity around controlling your reactions. But now, you don't even blink. That's what happens when you find yourself. You stop participating in other people's chaos. You realize the greatest revenge is living untouched, radiant, focused, untamed. You don't have to strike back. You simply rise higher than their reach. You've become the calm after their storm, the silence after their noise. And that silence, it's suffocating them. They can't stand that you're okay, that you're glowing, that you don't need them to define your worth anymore. They'll tell everyone you've changed. But that's the point, isn't it? You did. You grew. You healed. You stopped breaking yourself to fix others. And now that you've outgrown their manipulation, they call it arrogance. They'll say, you've become distant. But really, you just stopped walking toward people who meet you with disrespect. You built a world where their opinions no longer echo. Now, your confidence doesn't scream, it radiates. You don't have to prove you've won. They can see it in your peace, in your glow, in the way you no longer respond. They wonder who gave you this supreme confidence, this calm composure, this effortless strength. But it wasn't anyone, it was everything they did that forged it. Every wound, every lie, every betrayal, you bled, and then you built. And now, they're the ones bleeding from the shards of the mask they wore while trying to destroy you. The tables turned quietly. You didn't plan revenge, you became it. Your happiness became the punishment, your peace the payback, your growth the vengeance. They hate it, but they respect it. Because no matter what they say, they know deep down you're untouchable now. They're still playing small games, and you've moved to a whole new league. So when they whisper, "What happened to you?" smile. Because they're finally seeing what they created, a masterpiece born out of their madness. You've become a mirror they can't stand to look into. You reflect everything they lack: integrity, grace, self-control, power. And the best part? You didn't have to destroy them to win. You simply stopped participating in their destruction. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them choke on their curiosity. Because the truth is, you don't owe them an explanation. Your existence is proof enough that they failed. They'll keep asking, but you'll keep shining because your peace, your confidence, your new energy is the very thing they tried to take from you. And now that you own it, no one can ever take it again. So let them tremble in confusion. Let them whisper your name in envy, because they wanted you weak, and instead, they built a goddamn empire. They'll never admit it. But deep down, they admire what you've become. The same mouths that once mocked you now mimic your strength. They study your calm, your poise, your silence, trying to decode it like a riddle. But what they don't understand is that this version of you wasn't learned, it was earned. Every scar, every sleepless night, every disappointment, it carved you into something divine, something unreachable. You're not just healed, you're reborn. Now when they look at you, they see everything they pretended to be. You've become their standard, their secret obsession. They scroll through your presence like a ghost, haunting them, unable to look away, yet too ashamed to reach out. You've become the reminder that their manipulation didn't break you. It built you. You are the living proof that their cruelty was your catalyst. They used to think you'd never rise without their validation, that you'd always need their applause, their approval, their crumbs of affection. But now, your independence is their nightmare. Your glow mocks their ego, Every smile you wear whispers, you lost the best thing you'll ever mishandle. And that truth burns hotter than any revenge ever could. You don't chase anymore, you attract. You don't argue, you embody. You've mastered the art of quiet dominance, the kind of power that doesn't need to shout to be felt. And that's what unsettles them most. They can't fight peace. They can't manipulate calm. They can't control what no longer reacts. So, they sit in their discomfort, watching the person they tried to destroy become the very thing they can never touch again. And maybe, just maybe, that's karma's most poetic touch. Not that they're suffering, but that they have to watch you thrive. Every success you achieve, every ounce of serenity you carry, is a mirror reflecting their own failure. They tried to play God with your emotions, but you became your own creation. Now they bow to what they once betrayed, not out of respect, but out of fear. They were waiting for the explosion. They wanted the chaos, the shouting, the breakdown, something to confirm that they still had control over your emotions. But instead, you smiled. You didn't argue, didn't chase, didn't beg. You just looked at them like you'd already seen this scene play out 1,000 times before, and you had. They mistook your calm for confusion. They thought you were suppressing anger, that the storm was still brewing. What they didn't realize is the storm already passed, quietly inside you. By the time they betrayed you, you'd already accepted who they were. And acceptance, to someone like you, is deadlier than rage. They expected retaliation. They got silence. They expected fire. They got ice. And nothing unnerves the guilty more than being met with indifference. Because anger means you still care. But silence means it's over. You didn't block them out of hate. You didn't disappear to prove a point. You just decided that peace was worth more than participation. You walked away like a surgeon leaving an operating room after cutting out a tumor, precise, calm, necessary. They keep asking themselves, why aren't they mad? As if your emotional response is still their business. What they don't understand is that anger is temporary, but detachment is permanent. You outgrew the need for revenge the moment you realized you were already free. They wanted chaos. You gave them stillness. They wanted guilt. You gave them nothing. And now, that nothing is echoing inside their mind louder than any argument ever could. See, they thought they were special enough to disrupt your peace. But when you didn't react, when you didn't even blink, it shattered their illusion of power. Because there's no greater humiliation for a manipulator than discovering they no longer have access to your emotions. You didn't need to post, rant, or explain your side. You let time do the storytelling, and time has a cruel way of revealing who was real and who was just loud. You didn't need revenge. The truth handled that for you. They told themselves you were cold. They whispered that you changed. But the truth is simpler. You just stopped entertaining drama disguised as connection. You stopped playing therapist to people who refuse to heal. You learned the art of emotional control, the kind that terrifies small-minded people. Because when someone can't make you react, they realize they can't manipulate you. And when they can't manipulate you, they call you heartless. They think your chillness is fake. They assume you're pretending to be unbothered. But deep down, they know it's real because your silence feels too effortless, your distance too peaceful. You didn't build walls to keep them out. You built peace to keep yourself in. Now they talk about you like a mystery. They say you just stopped caring one day, as if it happened overnight. What they'll never understand is that detachment is slow. It's quiet. It's death by realizing they're no longer worth your energy. They expected you to spiral, to seek revenge, to prove your worth. Instead, you became everything they never expected: calm, distant, successful, untouchable. And that's what truly burns them. You didn't just survive the betrayal. You leveled up because of it. They wanted you to crumble under the weight of their actions. Instead, you became lighter. They wanted you to break. Instead, you became whole. And now they're left trying to understand how someone they tried to destroy came out glowing. Every time they hear your name, there's a sting because it reminds them of what they couldn't ruin. They threw everything at you: lies, blame, betrayal, and you just absorbed it, smiled, and walked away like it never happened. They keep watching you from afar, waiting for a sign that you're still affected, but you're not. You've moved on so far that even their memory feels small, like something that happened to someone you used to be. You became untouchable not because you fought harder, but because you stopped fighting altogether. You realized peace isn't the absence of noise, it's the refusal to dance to someone else's chaos. They mistake your chill for weakness, but your calm is earned. It's the calm of someone who's seen everything, survived everything, and decided to respond to nothing. That's real power, quiet, steady, and unnerving. Now they're left wondering what it would take to get a reaction from you again, but there's nothing left to provoke, because you've evolved past their reach. You don't live in the same emotional landscape anymore. You exist in a world they can't enter, a world built from silence, understanding, and control. You became the kind of peace they'll never know because they're too addicted to the drama that keeps them miserable. And that's your quiet revenge. Not vengeance, not rage, just the effortless glow of someone who healed without announcing it. You didn't fight them, you outgrew them. And nothing haunts the guilty more than realizing they're no longer relevant in the story they tried to control. You won the battle without showing up for it. You defeated them with nothing but self-control. And now, while they wait for the storm, you sit in sunlight, calm, collected, and beautifully unbothered. Because the truth is simple, they thought you'd be angry. You chose peace instead. And peace, in the hands of someone who's been through hell, is the most dangerous weapon of all. They thought betrayal would ignite you. They were prepared for the screaming, the chaos, the rage. They imagined you throwing words like daggers, shattering everything around you just to prove a point. But you didn't. You just smiled. That smile, calm, quiet, detached, became the thing that haunted them the most. They expected fire, but got frost. They expected to see you crumble, but you just turned away. Because when you've truly seen through someone, when the illusion dies, there's no anger left, only understanding. You didn't lose your temper, you lost interest. You see, anger is still a form of connection. It means they still have a hold on you. But you reached the level beyond it, the level of indifference. You didn't cut them off to punish them. You just realized they weren't worth the effort of an explanation. They don't know how to handle that kind of peace. People like them feed on reactions, on guilt, on conflict, on attention. When you gave them nothing, they starved. You took away their favorite meal, your energy. They tell everyone you changed, but the truth is simpler. You just got tired of watering dead things. You stopped setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. And now, they're freezing in the cold they created. You didn't post about it. You didn't talk about it. You just vanished. That silence was louder than any confrontation could have been. It told the whole story without you needing to speak a single word. They call your calm coldness, but that's projection. What they see as ice is actually discipline. You mastered your emotions, and that mastery terrifies them because they still need drama to feel alive. They wanted you angry because anger is predictable. But calmness is power. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't play by the emotional rules. You became a puzzle they can't solve, and that drives them insane. You didn't win by fighting back. You won by walking away. You understood the truth that not every war deserves a warrior. Some battles are won simply by refusing to enter the arena. Now they replay the past in their heads, searching for a version of you that might still react. They scroll through old messages, remembering the warmth in your tone, the effort you gave. And they wonder how that version of you could vanish so completely. But you didn't vanish, you evolved. You outgrew their chaos. You realized peace wasn't something they could ever give you, so you built it yourself. Quietly, efficiently, permanently. Their biggest confusion is your composure. They can't comprehend how someone they tried to hurt is walking around so unbothered. They expected revenge. They got serenity. They expected tears. They got laughter. Every time they see you now, that calm energy unsettles them because they know they don't live there in that peace. You do. You earned it through silence, through distance, through the refusal to be dragged back into their circus. They whisper your name differently now, not with arrogance but with awe, because your chill wasn't weakness, it was a revelation. You taught them that some people don't scream when they're done. They just close the door and never return. You didn't need to prove them wrong. You just stopped participating in their delusions. You stopped explaining what should have been obvious. You stopped giving second chances to people who made first chances look like mistakes. They're left wondering, how can they be so calm? But that calmness wasn't born overnight. It came from surviving the storm, from understanding that peace is the loudest form of power. Your indifference became your weapon. Every smile that wasn't forced, every night of uninterrupted sleep, every moment of stillness, all of it was a declaration of victory. Because while they were busy plotting reactions, you were busy healing. You used to be warmth, didn't you? Soft words, open arms, forgiving heart. You gave them light when they lived in darkness, but they mistook your warmth for weakness. They mocked your empathy, drained your love, and left you empty. And when you finally froze over, suddenly, you became the villain in their story. You see, that's the thing about people. They love you when you're soft, when you bend, when you bleed for them. But the second you stop bleeding, the second you pull your heart back into your chest and start breathing for yourself again, they call you cold, heartless, distant. No, my friend, you're not cold. You're healed. They wanted a version of you that would keep forgiving. They got addicted to your warmth. Now you've cut off the supply, and they're shivering in their own emptiness. They thought you'd chase, beg, break, but instead, you vanished into stillness. Nothing terrifies them more than the sound of silence where chaos used to be. You became unpredictable, unreachable. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped seeking closure. And that right there, that's what drives them insane. Because people like them thrive on control, and you stripped it away with one quiet, deadly decision. You stopped caring. Now, every interaction feels different for them, doesn't it? That look in your eyes, detached, calm, unreadable, it unsettles them. The way you walk past without a word. The way your energy no longer bends toward theirs. They used to pull the strings, now they're the ones tangled in them. They miss the old you, the one who'd text first, the one who'd cry, the one who'd over-explain, the one who couldn't stand being misunderstood. But that version of you died the day they took your kindness for granted. You buried that version deep, and from the grave rose someone they'll never recognize. You don't chase anymore. You attract. You don't beg for love. You sit in silence and watch who shows up. And they can't stand that power shift because they can feel it. The reversal. They're the ones craving your attention now. They're the ones overthinking every move. You used to melt for them. Now, you freeze them out with a single glance. And oh, how poetic that is. The same people who once mocked your emotions now drown in the ice of your indifference. They wanted a monster. You gave them one sculpted from every tear they ignored. You didn't become cold because you stopped feeling. You became cold because you finally started seeing. You saw the lies, the manipulation, the convenience. You saw the truth behind every "I miss you." And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You learned to protect your peace like it's gold. You stopped explaining why you're distant. You stopped letting people who broke you ask why you changed. You realized not everyone deserves access to your softness. That's sacred now, locked away. guarded by silence. And yet, they still talk about you, don't they? Still trying to figure out what happened. Why did they change? Why are they acting like this? As if they don't know, as if they didn't push you past the edge again and again until all that was left was ice. They hate that they can't get a reaction anymore. They poke, they gossip, they test your boundaries, and all they get in return is that calm, dead-eyed stare. That's what eats them alive. Your silence, your control, your refusal to play the game. You've become their obsession. Not because they love you, but because they can't figure you out anymore. You're unpredictable, mysterious. The warmth they once took for granted has turned into a cold, calculating force that terrifies them. You know what's funny? They wanted to humble you and ended up breaking themselves instead. Because when you go cold, you stop feeding their ego. You stop validating their importance. And without your energy, they fade. Now they're reaching out again, aren't they? The messages, the "Hey stranger," the "I miss you," the "You've changed." But it's not love, it's withdrawal. They're addicted to your energy, and now they're realizing they'll never get that high again. You walk past them like they never mattered. You smile at their confusion, at their attempts to pull you back into the old version of yourself. But that person's gone. You can't resurrect someone who died for their peace. They used to think your forgiveness was infinite. Now they see it had an expiration date. You gave them chance after chance, and they wasted every one. So when you finally froze, it was justice, not cruelty. And isn't it ironic? The ones who called you dramatic now panic when they feel your detachment. The ones who said you'll never find better are the ones haunted by your absence. You became the silence they can't escape. They thought breaking you would keep you small. But pain refined you, didn't it? It sharpened you, focused you, stripped you of illusions. You don't need revenge. Your growth is punishment enough. Every breath you take in peace feels like a dagger to their pride. You walk with a different energy now. It's quieter, colder, controlled. And yet, somehow, more dangerous. Because the kind of calm you carry now, it's the kind that comes after chaos, the kind that doesn't flinch anymore. You stopped explaining the storm inside you. You let people drown if they choose to misunderstand you. That's not bitterness, that's evolution. You owe no one access to your emotions, especially the ones who abuse them. They whisper about you now, don't they? Try to twist the narrative. They changed, they became cruel. But you know what really happened. You stopped participating in your own destruction. You stopped giving them the weapon. They see your peace as arrogance because they no longer benefit from your pain. They see your detachment as coldness because they can't control your emotions anymore. It's not arrogance, it's boundaries. And boundaries feel like rejection to those who have none. Your silence became their punishment. Your peace became their paranoia because they know they'll never get that version of you back. And that realization hurts more than anything you could have said. You're not cold. You're careful. You're not bitter. You're balanced. You learn to stand in the storm without breaking. And that kind of resilience scares small minds. They're the ones who turned you this way, remember? Every lie, every betrayal, every manipulation, it built the wall brick by brick. And now they're standing outside it, freezing, wondering why they can't get in anymore. They wanted to test your breaking point. Instead, they found your awakening point. That's the irony of it all. Their betrayal became your rebirth. You stopped craving their validation. You stopped performing for their comfort. And when they lost control, they called you distant. No, darling, that's called healed. Now, when you walk into a room, they feel it, that shift in energy, that quiet confidence, that dangerous calm. You no longer need to prove anything. You are the proof. They used to think they were irreplaceable. Now they're watching you thrive without them. That's the kind of pain no apology can fix. You stopped arguing. You stopped explaining. You simply became unavailable emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You left them to wrestle with their guilt, and that silence screams louder than any words ever could. They'll never admit it, but they respect you now. They have to. Because surviving what they put you through and coming out colder, calmer, stronger, that's something only legends do. They'll tell everyone you changed. Let them. You're not obligated to defend your growth to people who caused your wounds. The coldness they hate, they built it. The silence they fear, they earned it. And now, when they reach for you, they feel that chill, that emptiness where warmth used to be. It confuses them, breaks them, terrifies them, because they realize they created the very version of you they now can't handle. You became the mirror that exposes their guilt. Every time they see you, they're reminded of who they really are, the destroyer of their own peace. You didn't curse them. You just stopped carrying them. So don't apologize for being cold. Don't explain your silence. Let them feel the frost of their own actions. Let them shiver in the emptiness they built. Because this is what happens when someone plays with a heart that only wanted to love. Eventually, that heart learns to beat without them. And when it does, the warmth is gone forever. They thought turning you cold would ruin you, but all it did was make you untouchable. You're no longer someone they can toy with, you're someone they whisper about in regret. They turned you cold, and now they can't handle